And what does guilt say? Guilt says, I owe you. Yeah, I feel guilty about that. I owe you kindness. I owe you a listening ear. I owe you money. I owe you a request for forgiveness. I owe you something, all right? So I am in debt to you. And if I don't want to pay it, that establishes guilt in me. So when I see you, I'm kind of like, I don't want to see you because I owe you, and I either can't pay or don't pay. Now tonight, we'll look at beast number 2, which is anger, all right? And anger makes this statement: you owe me, okay? In the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, and verse number 26, be ye angry. There's nothing wrong with anger. And sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. And then he follows it up with, near to give place to the devil. Now, the psychology of the Bible is pure genius. It is pure divine genius. And I think what the world, possibly even a majority of Christianity, doesn't understand, the Bible is not just a book of stories. It is spiritual medicine. When properly applied, I'm telling you, can heal physically, emotionally, financially, relationally. This is the most amazing book in the universe because the human psyche is a product of the native perfect brilliance of the Creator. And God created us to work intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and socially. We are a breathing, living engine. And this engine functions at its maximum potential when it is fed very specific types of food or fuel. And for instance, the physical body operates at optimum levels with fresh whole foods. And we're learning more about that here in this process of Stacy. Boxed, packaged, canned foods are not good. And so fresh, whole foods are the best thing that you can fuel your body with. And if I insert a lesser octane fuel, for instance, in my vehicle, what's going to happen? You're going to start hearing a ping or a knock because you don't have the right octane. And if all I eat is McDonald's and, this is all I do, there's going to be some pings and some knocks, and it won't happen immediately. I'm aware of that. It won't happen when you're 4 or 5, but, when you get on up in age, it's going to take a toll on you. And so the soul of a human being, which is comprised of 3 things: mind, will, and emotions. Those things comprise your soul. This is also an engine that functions at optimal levels when fed specific food. That's why in a number of instances, specifically in the New Testament, the Bible is referred to as bread, water, very basic, fundamental types of nutrition. And, we can ignore biblical counsel and we can fuel up on moral and intellectual and mental swill. We can do that. We can listen to TV and internet and our neighbor next door, and we can listen to all these sources and fuel our minds with these things, but you know as well as I do, the consequences of that kind of eating is going to be disastrous at a point in the future. And so when biblical direction is ignored in our personal lives, we're scheduling an appointment with God, number one. We're scheduling an appointment with tragedy and with interrupted relationships. That's just the way life is going to work. And so we just invite fatal results when this county, we don't live around the world. We live in Hardy County. Hardy County is eaten up with sick people, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, relationally. It's a bad deal. And so, yes, sir.
And why do we get angry when things don't work?
We're going to talk about that tonight. That's exactly what the subject of this is. And so last week we looked at this thing of guilt, which says, I owe you. And I owe you a request for forgiveness. I owe you understanding. I owe you money. I owe you a listening ear. I owe you respect. I owe you love. I owe you something. And if I don't give it, I'm in your debt. All right? And so, I've got one of two ways to cancel or to take care of that debt. Number one, pay it. Or number two, have it canceled. Those are the only two ways to deal with this issue. Now, when there's this debt-to-debtor relationship created, people often avoid their creditor, and the relationship becomes very, very awkward. Now, let's move on tonight to this session of You Owe Me. Ephesians 4:26 says, be angry. Be angry. But in the expression of your anger, don't sin. Because there is a sinful anger, and there is a righteous or a holy anger. Anger is a legitimate emotion. If it was illegitimate, we wouldn't be able to feel it. We wouldn't be able to express it. Jesus got angry on some occasions in the New Testament. But here's the thing. Anger needs an appropriate target. Right? It needs the right target. It needs the right amount. It needs the right time. It needs to be dispensed as carefully as a pharmacist fills your prescription. Here's what most people, I can't say most, let me say a lot of people do. They just explode over nothing. You know, they kill a mosquito with an aluminum softball bat on the wall. Well, have at it. You know, you got a mosquito on the wall, get your aluminum softball bat out and just bust a hole in the drywall. Now, I killed a mosquito. Yes, you did. And congratulations on the death of the mosquito. Now call your drywall guy and have him come out for $800, fix the hole in the wall. So anger has got to be applied in the right situation. Do you know how to mediate your anger? Do you know, let's just use an artificial scale, 1 to 10, 1 being minorly annoyed and 10 just being this atomic explosion. Do you know what amount of anger to apply to what situation in your life, or does it just automatically run to 10? Everything is a 10, you know. And so there's a person that's got a little bit of a problem right there. To give you an idea, doctor gives you an antibiotic. Take 1 a day for 10 days. And so you somehow wrangle some extra prescriptions and you take 15 a day for 50 days. You got a problem? You can over-medicate. You can over-anger. You can under-anger. But you can also over-anger. And Paul said this. He said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So what time frame are we looking at for the mediation of your anger? At least what? At least 24 hours. Now, what if it happens at 8 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you know? Resolve that issue quickly. And you say, well, why? That's just why would you mediate that? Because you don't want to go to sleep with anger unmitigated. You do not want that resting in your heart or in your spirit. I'm going to read you something that I find pretty interesting, and it's an article from Everyday Health, and it's called 7 Ways Anger is Ruining Your Health. All right? Number 1, an angry outburst puts your heart at great risk. Most physically damaging is anger's effect on your cardiac health. In the 2 hours after an angry outburst, the chance of having a heart attack doubles, says Chris Aiken, MD, an instructor in clinical psychiatry at Wake Forest University. Number 2, anger ups your stroke risk. If you're prone to lashing out, beware. One study found there was 3 times a higher risk of having a stroke from a blood clot to the brain or bleeding within the brain during the 2 hours after an angry outburst. Number 3, it weakens your immune system. If you're mad all the time, you might just find yourself feeling sick more often. In one study, Harvard University scientists found that in healthy people, simply recalling an angry experience from their past caused a 6-hour dip in levels of the antibody immunoglobulin. Number 4, anger is also linked to depression. Numerous studies have linked depression with aggression and angry outbursts, especially in men. Number 6, hostility can hurt your lungs. Not a smoker? You still could be hurting your lungs if you are a perpetually angry, hostile person. A group of Harvard University scientists studied 670 men over 8 years using a hostility scale scoring method to measure anger levels and assessed any changes in their lung function. The men with the highest hostility ratings had significantly worse lung capacity, which increased their risk of respiratory problems. Number 7, anger can shorten your life. It is really true that happy people live longer. Or is it really true? Stress is very tightly linked to general health. If you're stressed and angry, you will shorten your lifespan, says Freestad. A University of Michigan study done over a 17-year period found that couples who hold in their anger have a shorter lifespan than those who readily say when they're mad. All right. People get angry when they don't get what they want. Jamie asked a pretty good question earlier. They get angry when they don't get what they think they deserve, or when they get what they think they don't deserve. Look in the book of James. Let's flip over there real quickly. James chapter number 4, if I can get there. All right. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not even of your lust that war in your members? You lust and you have not, you kill and desire to have and cannot obtain, you fight and war, yet you have not because you ask not. So here's some folks that didn't have what they thought should be theirs, and so what do? They go to war. They fight. Now, we're not talking about national military outbreaks here, but when people don't get, let's say, the promotion they thought they deserved, the praise they thought they deserved, the recognition, the acceptance, the whatever, the response of not getting what we want is anger. When your expectations are unmet, what's your response? You get mad. I thought you were going to be here at 5 o'clock. I thought you were going to do this, you know, and so when we don't get what we want, we get angry about that. And I want you to think about a time when you were really angry. The last time, I mean, you were just blood shooting out of your eyes angry. Why? I'm going to ask you to answer that out loud. But what made you so angry? Was it because you got something that you didn't think you deserved? A word? A look? Or was it because you didn't get what you thought you deserved? A word or a look? Some kind of recognition or acceptance? You've been cheated. You've been stolen from. Somehow you've been diminished. A thief has entered your life somehow and has stolen something from you. And you have this idea, somebody owes me. Now, here's the thing. What if you get ripped off in an internet scam? You're mad. You're upset. You can't find the guy or gal. You don't know where they are, but you're mad anyway. So this person is in debt to you, right? They owe you whatever it is that they took from you, money probably. But you're mad at that person, but you can't express that to them, so who are you going to express that to? The next person that walks in the room, spouse, kids, or whatever. And it's a bit like playing God. In other words, I'm thinking, God, you should have done better than that. If I had been you, this would not have happened to me. And so, the Lord should have made better arrangements. And this is a dangerous level of anger right here when you get angry at God. But, some stolen things can never be returned. Now, if somebody steals $50 from you, the $50 can be returned. If somebody steals your loyalty, your trust, how can that ever be returned? Where it's just like it was before it ever happened. There are some things that just simply are too valuable. Here's a man or a woman, and they cheat on their spouse. And I've counseled with many couples that have had this experience. And can it be healed? Yes. Can the relationship be restored? Yes. Has there been some damage done? Yes. And so show me an angry person. I mean, I'm not talking about just somebody that rarely ever gets angry. Show me a person that just seems to have an angry demeanor, and I'll show you a person that's been hurt. I'll show you a person that has been robbed. Something has been stolen from them. Something has been taken. They are diminished somehow. And they didn't get what they thought they should have gotten, or they got something that they didn't think they deserved. Either way, they're mad. And people say, well, no, I'm not hurt. I'm not offended. I'm too strong to be hurt by anything or anybody. That just doesn't bother me. Well, you're also too ignorant to be honest about what's killing you. Angry people are hurt people. They're not strong. Anger is not strong. It's a defense mechanism. I got hurt one time by a person or company or whatever, and I will never let that happen again. I'm still angry about that. And so what do? We lock the door. We put up borders and fences around our lives. Nobody will ever do that to me again. And so we blame the world for the one person or the one entity that's hurt us. And so another debt-to-debtor relationship. It's kind of the reverse of last week. You know, last week was I owe you. Now this week, you owe me. And so there's still a debt-to-debtor relationship here that's going to strain any relationship. And it's easy to believe the only remedy for our anger is payback. Somebody hurts you somehow. They're now in your debt. What is the only thing you can do? What does the world say you have to do or you can do to get this remedied? Get them back. You get them back, yeah. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, railing for railing. And so the debt is so great that in many instances people think, well, it just can't be forgiven. I have seen just recently folks that have been hurt by family, and they're thinking in their mind, this can't be fixed. This can never, I'm gonna wear the hurt of this for the rest of my life. Well, you can. You can. That is completely up to you. And so what about a spouse that is unfaithful to the marriage covenant? I don't think you can find a more fundamental brokenness than that on either case, male or female. I don't think that there is a greater betrayal than that. Can that ever be forgiven? Yes, it can, as a matter of fact. But what do most people do? I didn't deserve this. You owe me, and I'm going to get you back. Have you ever known of a wife that got cheated on by her husband, and she doesn't know how to forgive, and so what does she do? She pays him back by doing what? She has her own affair. Exactly. I'll pay you back. And so that's the way that people deal with stuff like this. And if I do not deal with this beast of anger in the biblical way, before long, I'm going to come to believe this. All y'all owe me. Now, John hurt me. John owes me. And now I look at everybody as John's. Everybody's out to get you. Ever talk to anybody like that? They've been hurt once. And so now everybody's guilty of whatever was done to them at one point. And so what has happened, this anger has metastasized. It has gone from my anger to Jonathan, which I'm not angry at Jonathan, by the way. Now, you do know that $50 that you owe me, right? Yeah. It has gone from my liver to my gallbladder. And now from my gallbladder, it's jumped up into my spleen. This thing is growing. And what will happen if I do not deal with my anger? I will be completely consumed by the product of my own creation. And so if you are angry about something, now I don't care what it is and I don't care when it happened, understand that it will not dissolve like smoke. I'll just forget it and let it go away. Understand that anger is not dissolvable. It is an entity that sets up housekeeping in the person's mind, and it will do tremendous destructive damage if I don't deal with that. And so, people begin to ask this question, what did I do to deserve that? I didn't do anything to deserve that kind of thing. And so, here's probably what happened. You didn't let them have their way. This kind of addresses what you were saying. If you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to get mad and you owe me. What do you owe me? Whatever it is I want you to do. Now, if that is my general mentality, what am I going to do with every person I meet? What am I going to assume about every person I meet? Do what I tell you to do. Do what I want you to do. And of course, in most instances, does that happen? No. So what happens to the anger? And you're just mad all the time. You go to bed mad, you get up mad. You look for ways to be angry. Now, have you ever noticed that nothing you do for angry people pleases them? Nothing. I don't care what you do, they're going to move the goalpost. Well, I thought, no, that's not what I wanted you to do. See, you didn't give them their way, or you didn't give them their way enough. Or you didn't give them their way in the way they wanted to have their way. And so they're just constantly moving the goalpost on you. And here's the reason why. What if the situation was actually resolved? Oh, my word. Now what are they stuck with? Peace. You know, there's some people that don't know how to handle peace. If they're not living in turmoil, they're miserable. And so what do? Create turmoil. Exactly. They find something. And can you find something to be angry about? How long would that take you to find something to be angry about? About that long. And so we always have situations to express anger about. And so what would happen if I let somebody finally please me, if I let them finally resolve this situation and I'm still angry, then my anger becomes illegitimate. It's like I owe Jonathan $50. Well, let's turn around, put it on me. Let's say he owes me $50 and I'm mad about it. And let's say he pays me the $50. Do I still have a right to be angry? I didn't have a right to be angry to begin with. But let's say, I don't have the right anymore. And I'm like, he paid me. Yeah. This is an old $50 bill. I wanted a new $50 bill. But there's going to be something that's not going to please me. And so now I'm stuck with this, oh my word, I got to be mad. What am I going to do with my anger? I got to be mad at somebody. Something, you sang the wrong song this morning. That's what happened. I got so, and so let's say she sings a song that I want her to sing. Well, that issue is resolved. Now it's, I am looking for a target because I cannot live at peace with myself. And so this is when anger is birthed as a beast in my heart, and it will give you heart disease on a spiritual level and a spiritual level and a physical level. Now, you say, well, I just don't have a problem, okay? Ask your family. Ask your spouse. Do I have a problem with anger? Now, if you don't want to know, don't ask them. Now, they may be afraid to give you an answer because you're going to blow up. That's your common response to most everything else. But now, if you feel, as they answer, if you feel the need to justify or explain your anger, you got a problem with anger. Instead of just saying, you're right. I did that or I do that. Instead of saying, yeah, but if you, and we always, people always try to reflect this stuff. Now, anger gains its strength through secrecy. Now, what I mean by that is to expose the purpose or the reason for your anger can be very painful. And the reason it can be very painful is often what I'm angry about is stupid. And if people would, if anybody ever found out what I'm really mad about, I'd look like the world's biggest idiot. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to secret that away. I'm going to act like it's something really big, really huge. You just have no clue. And it may be something extremely silly. And so we just often don't want to admit the silliness of why we're angry. And so this thing of secrecy is very important in hiding anger. And our our reactions, we often want people to think we've just got this huge legitimate cause. And we want people to think, well, if you were in my shoes, you'd be twice as angry as I am, you know. And so here is one thing you could do. Challenge the person to tell you their story. Let's say you have a boss or somebody at work, and they're in a rage about something all the time, just constantly. And is that eventually going to find you? Yeah. You know, now it may be on person A on Monday and person B on Tuesday, but understand it's coming to person M. It's coming, you know, it's coming to you at some point in the future. And so now here's the problem: dragging the cause of their anger out into the light of day. It's kind of like the kid that limps, comes in and he's limping, you know. And mom or dad, oh, my word, what happened? Oh, I got this great big huge splinter or something in my foot, you know, and they're limping like they got the leg broken. And so you sit them on the couch, you pull their shoe off, and you got to get a magnifying glass to find the splinter. You know, I mean, there's some people just overreact to every little thing, and you would think, oh my word, he just got bitten by a cottonmouth moccasin, and we're going to lose him if we don't get him in the hospital. And so it would lose its potency. See, anger loses its potency when it's brought out into the light of day. Because, you know, people will be angry at you for something you are unaware that you even did. There are people that wear their feelings right here. It takes nothing. You can walk by them, and the breeze of you walking by them will just set them off. And you didn't say a word. A little look. Maybe you were, and I've learned I've got to be careful. This is one of my own burdens to bear. I've got to be careful how I joke with who. I love joking and kidding around with people. And there's some folks that you don't joke with. Everything you say, they take it seriously. You just don't joke with them. And so, you know, that's where I think the temperaments come in to, you know, learn what kind of person you're dealing with here. But could the angry person handle being at peace? You think the person that is continuously angry, could they literally handle being at peace? They wouldn't have anything to do for a while. Do what? They don't want to be. That's the point. That's exactly the point, John. They don't know how to handle settled peace. And so there are people that wherever they go, I don't care, they go in the grocery store, they go to their job, their family, they are going to bring strife with them because that's what they are so accustomed to. And they don't know what peace is all about. And so a question to the angry people: how long are you going to let other people tell you how to live your life? How long are you going to let people that maybe you're not even associated with anymore? Hey, how about those that are dead? There are people that rule from the grave, people that they've hurt. And so, well, you know, do you want to live the rest of your life? And I've asked people this in situations. Are you happy with the way you are? No. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is normally, I don't know. They have no clue what to do. So here's my counsel to them and to anybody else that's dealing with this issue: pick a date. You pick a date. Choose the day of your freedom. All right? Tuesday, and this is just a random illustration. What is so powerful about choosing a date? And the way, what I mean by that is, on this day, I'm going to resolve this issue because it's wearing me out. It'll kill you physically, first of all. Anger is it will just stress your heart and other organs of the system. And you don't have to let the past control your future. Have you ever ran across people like that? They don't trust anybody now. Why don't they trust anybody now? Because they've been ripped off in the past. And I know folks that won't come to church. Why won't they come to church? Somebody hurt them in the past, or they think they got hurt in the past. You know, somebody goes to a church and the Bible is preached to them and it offends them. Well, I got hurt in church one time. What hurt you? Well, they were preaching about hell, and I just don't believe in hell. What are you going to do about that? You know, there are just some things that we can't change. But anger is a shield. Now, I've learned this through the years, that anger is a barrier. Angry people don't want you close to them. And so what do? As soon as you get within a certain distance, the alarm goes off. And what's the alarm? Anger. Steam. Warnings. Red flags, you know. The people expressing their anger in however they express that anger. And so the deal that they're hiding something. They don't want you to find what they're hiding. And so what do? They keep people at a distance. See, they keep let me put it this way. They keep the police off the crime scene. I don't want anybody coming in here and poking around and finding, this is what you're angry about? Really? This is it? And then the person looks like an immature fool because this is what has caused all this trouble all these years. How many of you know of a situation that has destroyed families, created turmoil in good, close relationships over absolutely the silliest thing? Know some? That all that needed to be done was at the moment it happened. Resolve it at that level. It could have saved, oh goodness, divorces. I wonder how many people have been murdered. How many times have we heard in the last 5 years, there was a road rage incident over in Hillsborough County, and, you know, a guy got out of his car and shot the other guy. Why? He wouldn't let him in. So you're willing, you tell me you're willing to go to prison and risk execution because you didn't get in the spot in line that you thought, again, somebody stole something from you. It doesn't have to be much, folks. That is the tip of the iceberg, but that's what people are. They've been hurt. I'm just telling you, hurt people stay angry because they didn't mediate this thing when it happened, and you never know what's going to trigger it. It could be something that silly. Yes, sir. Exactly. The bully, yeah. I've been bullied all my life, and so that's exactly right. And so now there's a way to use your story. Don't use your story as an excuse, but as a testimony. All right? You see somebody that's dealing with this, and say, let me buy you lunch. Take them out to lunch. You don't do this in front of their coworkers, you know. You take them out, and so, and you know, I noticed that your spirit just seems to be troubled. Anything I can do to help you? And then you might want to just share your experience. So let me tell you the way I used to live life, and use your story as just a testimony. So when God is allowed into the deep recesses of a person's heart, he brings healing and hope with him. All right? I hear people say all the time, and it's true, you know, well, the Lord is with you. Well, exactly what does that mean? Well, yeah, he's here watching me fail. He's here watching me get hurt. He's standing there, doesn't seem to be doing anything. And so I think we need to define, what does it mean that God is with you? Well, that means, in the biblical sense, that God has inserted himself into your situation, and he is making available his wisdom and discretion and his answers and his strength. He's making that available to me, but will not force any of that on me. But it is there. Yes, sir. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yes, sir. That's exactly what God has made available. It is a constant presence of wisdom, deity. He can put oil on the trouble. I mean, everything we need is wrapped up in what God has done for us. Exactly. But I've got to make myself available to those things. Yes, ma'am.
If we don't use
And that's one of the parables, right? Exactly, one of the parables goes to that that leverage point right there. But people, yes, sir.
About your definition of grace, that paragraph long. Desire and ability. God gives us the desire and then the ability to do anything.
Right.
That's within His will.
Right. If it will keep you in harmony with Him and His Word, He has promised, well, that's going to be hard. He will give you the desire and the ability. Is exactly right. And so, but people use anger as a tool, and they pull it out and leverage in certain situations to get their way. Have you ever seen a situation where, don't make him mad. Just do what he says. Don't make her mad. Just do what she says. Is that really the way you want to live life? With that kind of a reputation? That if I don't get what I want, everybody involved is going to pay the price. Because everybody owes me what? Obedience. Loyalty. They owe this to me. And so they say, well, I'm just trying to get things accomplished. Well, you might think your anger is a good way to get things accomplished, but keep in mind that anger never secures permanent cooperation from anybody. Nobody. The person that is constantly blowing up, you know why they're having to constantly blow up? Because it never works permanently. You're going to have to do it. You do it today, you're going to have to do it tomorrow. And pretty soon you get a reputation of being that. And everybody just kind of walks around on eggshells around you, not wanting to push you over this trigger point. But people think, well, my anger makes me a stronger, more successful spouse or parent or coach or boss or pastor. But anger weakens you. It weakens you physically. It weakens you spiritually and emotionally. You say, well, I'm just not sure I believe that. Ask the people that have had to deal with it. Ask them if it doesn't weaken you. And so the shrapnel wounds of our anger, people that are closest to us, Jamie mentioned it a while ago, jokingly, but he's exactly right. Something happens on the job that you didn't get what you thought, or you got something you didn't think you deserved, and you come home and kick the cat. Or you come home and scream at your spouse. Or you bully your kids around. Somebody's going to pay. I can't do it to my boss because I don't want to lose my job, right? I've got to watch what I do with him. But somebody is going to pay the price. Well, he took something from me. He took my dignity, my whatever it is, and somebody's going to pay for that. And so normally it's other people. And so unfortunately, in most cases, it's unsuspecting friends. Has anybody ever blown up at you for nothing? And you're like, whoa. Well, I do. Nothing. It's just that boss of mine. And so now Paul said, be angry. There's an approach. What should you be angry at? See if we can define that. What? Okay, exactly. Be angry at anything that violates God's purpose for your life. Be angry at that. Yes. And I make them. I don't think anybody is exempt from that. But let's see. Somebody should have written down somewhere, love covers a multitude of stupidity. Love covers a multitude of sin, the Scripture says. And so how long are people going to live? I don't see how people do that. That just, to me, it takes so much energy to stay mad all the time. You might catch yourself being at peace, and you're like, oh, no, I can't do that, So, oh my goodness, it's those Democrats. Well, who's not going to stay mad at politicians? All you got to do is think of something, and that's going to fuel that anger. And but quit making completely innocent people pay the invoice of your unwillingness to mediate your anger. I cannot get angry at person A and come and take it out on person B. I can't do that. Is that legitimate? No, that's not legitimate. But how often do we do stuff like that? Now, yes, ma'am. Yes, they are.
and blocking themselves off from the rest of the
That's
world.
exactly, because nobody wants to be around that. And,
And the other person, 9 times out of 10, don't even know
right.
they've offended or hurt. And even if they do know, that person's gone off and they're living life, and you're still sitting here mad and miserable.
Thinking that you're doing, I'm paying them back. They owe me, and I'm paying them back. Yeah, you're right. Well, let me close with this. Here are some common causes of anger, and you may recognize some of these. You may recognize one or more, but let me run through these real quickly, and then we'll go. Number one, not feeling accepted. The school shooting deal. I didn't feel like I fit in, and so number two, failure to have our way. I didn't get what I wanted. They didn't do what I wanted them to do, and so blow up. Being mistreated. Now, can you be legitimately mistreated? Yes, you can. What's the proper response to that? Yeah, you forgive them, Or in this forgiveness, sit down and talk with the person. If you have been legitimately wronged, go to them. Make them tell you their story. Why did this happen? Number four, past neglect and abuse. There are people that have been neglected in the past and hurt in the past when they were 8, 10, 11 years old. Now they're 55 and 60 years old, and they're still ticked off about that. And everybody in their life is paying the price for somebody that did something wrong to them way back in the day, and they have not gotten over that. And so everybody has to pay that price. Number five, it is a defense mechanism. I don't want you to know how stupid the thing is I'm mad at, and so I'm not going to talk about it. It's none of your business. It's too deep. It's too big. It's too whatever. And so it keeps people. And people that are mad all the time, do you feel a closeness with them? Do you feel like, I want to walk right into that minefield? I'm just going to, people aren't going to do that. And so it's a defense mechanism, a poor one. Number six, fear of being attacked. I don't want to get close to anybody. If people get to know me, they won't like me. And so just fear of being attacked. Number seven, lack of emotional maturity. What are kids famous for? Pitching a fit and temper tantrums. And we're thinking, well, one day they'll grow up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I've seen adults pitch temper tantrums. And number eight, anxiety, out of control. You're just anxious about things. You've got some upcoming difficult things to do, or you've got some challenges in your life, health, financial, whatever, and you just get mad about it. I can't pay this. And so people just blow up, get mad about that. Number 9, poor parental modeling. Boy, I've talked with a bunch of people. The only way they know how to communicate with their kids is through screaming and hollering. And I'll ask them, why? That's what my dad did to me. That's what my mom did. I don't know how to do anything else. And so that's why it's so critical that parents of these young kids model how to live the Christian life in front of them, because they'll never forget that. Where do you go to school to become a good mom? A good dad. That's the school. Exactly right. You talk about homeschool, there it is. And so the father, and I've told you guys this forever, a young man will be basically the same kind of a husband to a wife as he is a son to his mother, and a young lady will be basically the same kind of a wife to a husband as she is a daughter to her father. And so if the son disrespects his mother, he's going to do the same thing to a wife. And so the father has got to model husbandship to his children. You say, well, the boy will see positively how to do that. And on the other side of it, you got a little girl. Well, she'll never be a husband, legitimately, but she will know what kind of man to look for. She'll know what kind of a man. And I think it's a good thing for a young lady to say to her dad, I'm looking for a man like you. I want somebody that will treat me the way you treat mom. And so poor parental modeling. And then number 10, keeping company with angry people. It can almost be like a competition. Oh, yeah? I get madder than you can. Now, I doubt anybody ever sits down and talks about it like this. But in practical reality, this is what happens. And so there's something. Angry people are hurt. They never dealt with the hurt. And the hurt may be huge. It may be. It may be something silly. We don't know because they don't want to tell you. Either way, if they can tell their story to somebody and open this to the light of day and let the Lord do this spiritual surgery on their spirit and in their heart, this thing can be dealt with and peace can be established in their lives. Yes, sir. Right. Oh, wow. Wow, what a heritage. Right, what a heritage that is. My goodness. Um, all right, are we going to go? Thank y'all for being here. I'll be here Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, and we'll study Scripture again. So I hope y'all have a great, great week. Good to see you. Thank you again for being with you look terrific, and I'm glad you're feeling better, and the Lord's been really, really good to you. I'm glad of that. All right, well, let's bow and be dismissed. Lord, we thank you tonight for the medicine cabinet of the Scriptures. Everything we need is there: the food, the water, the healing, the everything has been cased in Scripture, and I want to thank you for it. And I pray that we would just not study the bottles and read the labels and put it back in the cabinet, but that we may just crack the lid on these things and drink and eat and absolutely devour the truth. And may this change our lives, our relationships. Thank you for making this available to us. And thank you for those that are here tonight. Bless us as we live life your way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.